Welcome to the SMO Podcast. My name is Whitney, and today I'll be asking each guest 7 questions in 7 minutes. Here is the first look of our guest that will be speaking live on our stage. Look below to see what you'll say differently. And here is our next episode.
Everyone, my name is Whitney, and I'm here with the SMO Podcast. I'm here with today's special guest, Zachary Jones. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on.
Absolutely. For everyone that is watching, can you tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Zach Jones. I've done a lot of things. I've been a military chaplain, I've been a pastor, and now I'm the founder of Waffle. We are an AI agency that helps primarily Christian businesses and churches to grow and make effective use of today's technology.
That's amazing. So for everyone that's watching, can you kind of give us like the backstory, like what led you to take this path seriously? How does it all get started?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, I guess like most of my life, I've just done ministry. I've been a pastor. I've been a army chaplain, and a couple years ago, we had our daughter, and I was just home one day, and I was like, you know what I want to do is I want to start a business. And I had gotten into AI, gotten into programming, into website development. And I couldn't think of like what is the angle I want to take, right? Because I didn't want it to feel like I had this one part of my life that was going one direction and this other part of my life going another direction. I'm really big on like trying to be consistent and trying to find common threads and how you live. I feel like that helps with the flow of things more, especially when you consider like what are the gifts God's given you, what are the passions that God's given you, and like finding a way where all those blend. So I'm all about, I always call it the common thread that I'm looking for. And for me, it was helping for businesses and particularly Christian businesses and churches become more effective. I've always been a systems-minded guy, really into making things more effective and efficient. So you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to help churches and Christian entrepreneurs become more efficient, become more effective at their mission, and to really enable them to spend time doing the things that matter the most to them, which, in a church is sharing the gospel, is reaching the lost and reaching their community. And for a Christian entrepreneur, it's, doing that business to the glory of God. So how do we use today's resources to do that better, right? Not to replace humans, right? But to make those humans more effective and to give them more time for the things that matter most.
That's so good. I think for those that are watching it, even like, a lot of business owners that I know, they need better systems, right? Like I think
Right.
it really is the bread and butter of like having the foundation to do the things that we want to do and also get our time back so we can spend the time that we want to with the people that we love most. And so for what you're doing, I think it's super needed. It's necessary for most of us, as entrepreneurs, we can all benefit from that. Do you think that there was a mindset shift that changed everything with you, just in being in ministry and
Hmm.
also in entrepreneurship and like you said, finding that common thread in the midst?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I'm trying to chase back because I feel like if you've ever, in all of your entrepreneur listeners, like that, like I feel like those first couple of years of being an entrepreneur, it's like getting your MBA. You're so like you're just grinding and you're learning. And I was just talking with one of my co-founders today, where I said, like the things that I needed and the things that I thought a year ago, even completely different than they are now in business. So I think that the mindset shift for me was in realizing that maybe as a pastor, because it's primarily preaching and teaching, right, and some counsel. Very rarely do you have to make a super complex decision, right? I can go to the Bible and I can figure out like what does the Bible say about this, right? And there are definitely biblical wisdom principles for business, and there's also I believe that like we have the common grace of wisdom, right, that we have in our lives that God gives us, and so I had to really tap into that more, right? Because there's not like there's all these books on business, but the mindset shift was realizing that God gave us a spirit of discernment, and I have to lean into that more. And I have to be willing to make hard decisions with a larger vision in mind. I think when that mindset shift happened, it changed everything for me, not just business, but ministry, parenting. Like now I think like that's the common thread there is like how do I do things with a bigger vision in mind, more deliberately, and be willing to go to war with my comfort for in exchange for great things.
I love that. And I love that whole idea of like the mindset shift changing everything. Because I think a lot of people don't realize like it doesn't also affect your business, but it affects who you are as a person.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
all the responsibilities that you're taking on, like you said, like as a husband, as a father, as as a friend, and also as a as a businessman and in ministry and everything that that you offer. And I think a lot of us can get kind of tied into like the titles of like
Right.
the business and everything that that carries. But if we can just lean into to knowing that like those are actually gifts that we're supposed to use to serve to the world, and then taking on those titles as more of a responsibility than the title itself. Would you say,
Yeah.
Pastor Zachary, would you say that a lot of people now, with the people that you're serving, right? Because I think a lot of your work is allowing people to be seen and heard.
Hmm.
Would you say, what does that mean to you personally, like being seen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. That's one thing that I didn't think about as much when I was just a pastor, as far as myself, as I do now as a business owner. Because what you realize is that it is a huge world out there, and every entrepreneur has this product that they believe is going to help people. And that means that every entrepreneur needs to be seen, like you said, and needs to be heard. And you really only get a moment to make an impression. And that's why we've really leaned heavily, particularly when we help churches in building a very clean, a very warm SEO optimized website. Because like you get that 1 second. For me, when I was like in college, the difference between whether or not I went and checked out a church normally started with the websites that came up when I was looking for a church, right? And so that made me realize at a young age that being seen is key, right? I think what it used to mean for me was much smaller, like just hearing people out, stuff like that. But now I realize that being seen in the entrepreneurial space is being able, well, in order to be seen, you have to understand what it is that you are, right?
Mm,
So when I work with entrepreneurs, which I do a little bit of coaching, I always say like you need to know what is the one thing that you want to help people with. One thing, and that's it. Don't do anything else. Just pick
yeah.
one thing until you get to, I'd say about $1 million in revenue. Then you can talk about adding services, but like you need to prove concept in one thing. Um, and so if you don't know what that one thing is, people can't see you because they don't know what it is they're seeing. I
Mm,
think that there's a sermon there too of like, I need to know who I am, right? And as a Christian, first and foremost, that comes from knowing that I'm a child of God, right? And then I see myself as a husband, I see myself as a father, and all those things help me connect with my market, right, for who I'm reaching. So when I think about what it means for other people, particularly Christian entrepreneurs, I think you lean into the faith, right? But you also lean into like having a clear idea of what it is you're even trying to sell, right? What is it? If you can't say it in five, if my 3-year-old can't understand that, I'm like, I'm not making this easy enough, right?
yeah.
That's being seen is like knowing who you are so innately that it's a core feature that can be easily explained. You don't have to over explain because you know what it is.
I agree 100%. Like, in order to know who you are and whose you are, it really does lay the foundation for like how we serve and how we show up for
Right.
people and, in entrepreneurship and really anything that we do. And
Yeah.
I love that you touched on that. I would love to dive deeper into like the work and how you're really bringing that transformation for the people that you're serving right now, whether it be for ministry or business. Like, what is that one transformation that you feel that you bring to, to the people that you're serving?
Yeah. I think that the one transformation that I bring is not even the we always say like the AI solutions that we leverage for our tools and stuff, those are in the background. Even the website services, which is like a primary part of our offering for especially for small businesses, and the SEO optimization, all that, like it's in the background because the one transformational thing that I can offer as somebody who owns an agency run by Christians, right, is clarity. I think that ultimately when I sit down with a business or my team sits down with a business, it forces in a good way for that business to sit down and be like, what is it that my customers actually need? And therefore, what is it that I'm actually offering? Right? The one defining characteristic that's through everything is we always say, like, what I've already said is like pick one problem, right? Like people normally people come to us and like most small businesses, it's like less than 24% of small businesses are $1 million or more. So most of them are trying to find that fit still. But, okay, what are you doing the best at? Right? What do people when they come to your store, what are they looking for?
Mhm.
You know, okay, we're doubling down on that. That is the clarity, right? Now, how do I explain that in 1 million different ways to the million different people who are walking by my store or whatever, right? Um, so I think clarity is the biggest thing that we bring. After that, would be thinking through systems. We're not hustle culture people. We like to hustle. We believe you should grind, right? Like we get the hard work, but I believe also that like God gave me a life that's meant to be lived and experienced and enjoyed and delighted in. And so we think get clarity and get systems because systems are going to help you to be able to grow a business without burning out, without becoming jaded, and without becoming addicted to the work, right? You have to have that balance there.
I love how you keep going back to that one thing that we can just hone in on and really just focus on because I think there's so many people that maybe get distracted. Like, so in
Yeah.
the world, I feel where we can be busy, but not necessarily productive. So
Yeah. Huge difference. Yeah.
exactly. So speaking to the systems guy, like Zach, can you tell us essentially like what is one system that you think every entrepreneur, every business needs?
Yeah. I mean, where did you get started? I think I'll walk you through the systems that I use because I think there's a few that everybody needs. Number one, you need a snapshot of your revenue trends week over week, and then trending, and you have to be able to see that year to year to see where the differences are. That is a huge thing. You have to get the data. Number two, what you really need is an ongoing competitive analysis. I think what people forget, I think we all get so knee down in the warehouse, if you will, that we don't realize that, hey, like I could benefit from understanding what my competitors are doing. Every Monday at 5 in the morning, I get my AI agents scrape competitors and they tell me this is what there's not a lot of like Christian web agencies, but there are other web agencies. It's like this is what they're
Yeah.
doing. This is how you can adjust your offering to make sure you're optimized. So that'd be
Mhm.
another one. And then a final big one, if you're like me, and you like have a business that requires a lot of engagement, um, having the tools to help structure outlines and thoughts for like your newsletters and your social media posts is another big one for entrepreneurs. Beyond that, those are like ones that everybody can use. Beyond that, like we could talk other things too, but they're all much more specific once you go from there, I think.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Even from the first one that you said, I'm like, so good. The first thing that came to mind was anything that you track grows. And
Yeah.
sometimes we can get caught up in like the day-to-day task and not actually track the entire, business,
Hmm.
or what we're building and kind of lose sight of, what is actually going on. What needs to be the
Yeah.
and how can we, take from where we are now to where we want to go. So,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love.
I tell my developers we can't hide behind building. Like a lot of people the entrepreneurs get stuck in building. It's like, no, you need to hold yourself accountable, which means look at the revenue. Look at how many people did you talk to today, right? Because if that number is less today than it was yesterday, then you're not going the right direction as a business owner. And that's just, you kind of have to have those systems in place to say, I'm either failing my company because I'm not engaging my audience, right? Or I'm succeeding because I reached three more people today than I did yesterday. So I'm making consistent progress.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Whether it be one or two or three or you know,
Right.
20 or 100 people, as long as you're progressing every day, like it makes a big, big difference. So,
100%.
so for like in the becoming, I want to go back to the becoming because I feel like you talked a lot about playing the roles of not playing the roles, but walking in the roles of, taking on the responsibility and being the person for all the people, whether it be in entrepreneurship or even just personally for yourself. Was there ever a barrier that you had to break in the becoming?
Mm. Yeah, the barrier for me, wasn't really when it came to ministry, or even, being a husband or a father. Like those were all things that just felt like I was very clear that that's where my life was leading. When I decided to become an entrepreneur, what I had to overcome was I think really, I'd say like the lies of the enemy saying, well, because you've never done this before, and now you're, your 30s when I started being an entrepreneur. So, well, like you can't do this because there's a 20-year-old genius in Stanford who's building something too, right? And I had to overcome those lies and realize that if this is the path that God has you on, it doesn't matter when you start or what your background is, right? It will be a fruitful call.
So good. I love that. You have amazing advice, my friend. For everyone that is
Oh,
watching,
thank you.
can you tell us like how can we connect with you and how can we learn more about these systems? Because I feel like even for myself, I'm constantly looking at my business and figuring out, okay, what systems needs to be replaced today. So I definitely feel
Yeah.
like we need to have a more in-depth conversation after this. I think for those watching, they feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I'd love to connect and talk. The easiest way to get a hold of me is my threads is Rookie Founder. So you can find me there. At LinkedIn, I'm Zach Jones. Or if you want to go and book a call on our website, go waffle, waffle.com. You can book a call and I'll do a free audit of your business to help you think through systems.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here. Thank you for serving and giving us practical strategies that we can apply to our business today. I think,
Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy.
yeah, absolutely. We'll see more of you soon.